Let me first tell you what branding is not. It is not a logo. It is definitely not a product or an identity. Branding is also not a company. It's definitely not a product. So what is branding?
Good afternoon and namaste, beautiful audiences. Welcome to Bloom. My name is Founder Aarti. I'm an entrepreneur, co-transformer, a keynote speaker, therapist, and an author. We at Bloom strongly believe in co-creation, collaboration, and teamwork. Bloom has powerful and dynamic team which have been handpicked. They are who's of who and are industry veterans who are having accumulated 200 years of experience specializing in their own field. Bloom is into mental wellness trainings, creating signature workshops for corporates, speaking engagements. Bloom will be catering to each and every individual where we will be creating masterpieces through our signature programs. I invite each and every one of you to be a part of Bloom, where together we grow, and as Bloom is casted, it will create ripples world over. Let me introduce my co host today, Mr. KV Premraj. Mr. KV Premraj is an author and futurist speaker on leadership and management. KV Premraj has spent 37 years in banking with experience in public and private sector. He was also the CEO of the BPO arm of a leading private sector bank. Premraj is a co-author of three books. All three books hit the number one spot on Amazon best-selling list. Premraj hails from Mumbai and resides with his wife, son, daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, and pet cat-in-law. We have on our show today a very dynamic personality, and I would now hand over Premraj to introduce her and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Like Payal said, we have on the show today a doyen of the branding industry in Aarti Narang. She is the founder and CEO of Brand My Style. Aarti is passionate about designing distinctive, authentic, and brilliant brand stories. Her job is to make you and your work shine by delicately branding your style's uniqueness, strengths, and representing it with a strong brand projection. She specializes in CEO branding and branding of personalities. Aarti believes in online reputation management is the key to faster conversions and results in business in today's digital times. Some of our clients have been celebrities representing India internationally, high-profile CEOs, authors, philanthropists, coaches, speakers, international diplomats, and even an Ironman IPS officer. Not much left. Welcome to the show, Aarti.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here. And thank you, Premraj, for the introduction. Payal, amazing. You must say, I am very, I feel blessed to be a part of your journey also, Payal. Thank you for the opportunity to add value here, and to everyone who's taken their time today to listen to our little interaction. I would not say knowledge giving. I'm just sharing good information, which has worked for me and for all our clients. So we will definitely have, I will answer your questions when you come up to me with those, but I will also like to begin with a little small presentation on what is branding. Let's demystify branding, and let's bring in a shift in understanding on how you as a personality also can create a brand of yourself. I will just do a quick screen sharing and share with you through a presentation. Premraj, would you please allow me to present?
Payal, you'll have to allow screen sharing.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So if I would like to just quickly, you can all see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what is branding? If I have to ask you, what is branding? You could please put it in your chat box. What, according to you, do you think is branding? Let's understand your thought process also. So I will have to quickly look at the screen. Branding is the perception. It's about image. Yes. Anybody else would like to speak? You can unmute and speak. I think it'd be nice to have an interaction. Or you can just type in the chat, whatever works. Okay. So let me quickly share with you what is branding. Now, when we are demystifying branding, okay, let me first tell you what branding is not. It is not a logo. It is definitely not a product or an identity. Branding is also not a company. It's definitely not a product. So, what is branding? Branding is a person's gut feeling about your product, your service, or your organization. What does a person perceive about you or your product or your service or your organization? That feeling is called what is called branding. And its branding is all about projecting impressions that you want your customer to perceive. So if you think of Apple, you know it's about premiumness, you know it's about user friendliness, it is about feeling good when you're using Apple products. For example, of course, there are other products also that make you feel good, but I'm just using Apple as an example. Similarly, it is a gut feeling because people are emotional, intuitive beings. Because we humans are emotional and intuitive, hence we connect a feeling, and that feeling is what we call branding. It is always said it does not matter how much you know, but it is all matters is how much you care and you make others feel about you. So again, before I go to the gut feeling, I always emphasize on the number one value, and that is authenticity. Branding, along with authenticity, will bring in trust that will drive in results. So, if you're trying to superficially create a feeling, it will not work. Because we humans are emotional, intuitive beings, we catch in that vibe, we know it, and it has to come up with a lot of authenticity. Now, let's just quickly go through what is branding in another perspective of marketing, of public relations, of advertising, and again, what is branding here? In marketing, the customer and the salesperson, if they're interacting with each other, in marketing, the customer will listen to the salesperson. The salesperson will say, my work is good, my product is good, buy my service. When it comes to public relations, there's a third party who endorses, he tells the customer, the service is good, the work is good, you can work with him, hire him or her. In advertising, the message is bombarded again and again, buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me. But in branding, the game changes and the customer tells the salesperson, I know, I understand, you are good, let's work together. Is the feeling that is communicated that completely changes the game for the person who has the product, or the positioning, the brand positioning plays a key role over here. Now, what is branding? Let me quickly take you through an example. We all know that water is free. Now, when we know that water is free, but the moment the water is bottled and it's packaged, it sells for a price. Aquafina or Bisleri will sell for 20 or 30 rupees a liter. Evian in India will sell at 1500 rupees a liter. And in an international brand like Evian is definitely has a marketplace also in India. And internationally, it's one of the most popular brands. Now, It's the same water inside, but the packaging is different. There's a flavor added, and the way it is positioned. Did you know Fiji water came in much later when in the bottling industry? In fact, you must Google out Fiji water brand story and the brand case study, and it's an amazing story on how Fiji water positioned itself and rose to one of the top bottling companies. Now, here it identifies, for example, Evian identifies its market audience very well. It positions itself in that particular audience. And when the audience sees the brand, they recognize this is what we stand for, this is what we want, and they are more inclined to purchase that particular brand. It's the communication of the brand values, the brand story, that also brings a lot of uh, uh, toughness to the brand positioning. So branding is projecting impressions that you want your customer to perceive. How do we get it right? I'm sure you must be thinking about this. How do we get it right? Let me quickly show you a video. And when you see this video, you will have a little clarity on how we will move further in our presentation once we do that. I will have to just stop the share and share the screen again. Just give me one moment. Okay.
Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Big up the queen of the area. Still love you like that. No, we don't die. Yes, we multiply. Anyone press me, the fire is sing. Act like you know we go. I know what both don't know. Let's get up and go. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Pick up the queen of the area. Still love you like that. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Excuse me, Mr. Officer.
So what the message I wanted to communicate through this video was, it's about a feeling. It's about how Evian communicated the feeling that you drink Evian, you will feel happy, you will feel young, you will feel pure. It will take you through your most purest feeling days, which is like the childhood days. So the message that the brand is trying to convey is a convey of being young. You drink Evian, you will feel young. The message goes out so very clearly through the entire commercial. So here, what we are trying to communicate through branding is, if you look at this picture, you are able to come up with a story. You think, yes, there is some story going on. It's a wedding, it's the bride, and that is why they say, when we create brand stories, you're building stories that connect with your audience. How do you create that stories? That, of course, there's a process to it, but the brand should communicate a story. What else does a branding do? The branding also communicates solutions and tells about those solutions that consumers did not even know they needed. For example, when Steve Jobs had the idea of introducing iPods, it was his requirement, it was his need. He wanted 4,000 songs in his pocket. He created the iPod. That time, we didn't know we needed an iPod. But the whole world was purchasing iPods. And of course, then came the iPhone and it became redundant later on. But the way he communicated it with his own story of how he needed an iPod instead of carrying the bulky Walkman in those days. So with branding, you also create those messaging with the right, providing those right solutions, and that the consumers do not even know they needed it. And also the most important thing in branding is showcasing your uniqueness. In fact, while doing a lot of brand stories for personalities, I am always able to create a different story because each human being has a different story. Each person has its own uniqueness. And we just have to decode that, unravel it, and present it in the right way. And showcasing the uniqueness is definitely one very important point that you have to keep in mind when you're creating a brand. So let me give you one top secret. Are you ready for that one top secret? So that one top secret is specialize, specialize, and specialize. Let me show you this image. If you say you want to buy a camera and you go to a store and you don't know which one to buy, you will say, should I buy Sony? Should I buy Olympus? Should I buy? But if each of these brands specialize, when you are clear you want a camera that's focused on night photography, you will go to that brand that specializes in night photography lens. Or you would go to a brand that has got the lens. So it's purely when you specialize, you know, you will attract your kind of an audience, because your audience will then be able to recognize you, or your people who want to buy your products, they will recognize you that, hey, this is the brand that I want. So specializing and communicating that specialization is a very, very important thing. There are many nuts and bolts. I can't cover all of them. I think I have already taken more than 25 minutes. So I will close on this note, and I will hand it over to Premraj, and we can take it forward from there.
Thank you, Aarti. You have demystified a lot of things for us. Let's proceed further to demystify more. So
Yes.
what would you say is the difference between branding and advertising?
Very good question, Premraj.
Thank you.
In advertising, if we look at yesterday's yellow pages, there was a mainstream where marketing people used to go to get their leads from. Today, it's all digital. So in advertising, it's newspapers, cable TVs, billboards, print ads, radio, and various means of broadcast that is used to reach out to people. And in today's times, with the digital age, we have, of course, the social media, Google AdWords, banner AdWords, YouTube, Instagram. However, all these are extremely important. Yes, we need them. But the foundation for this advertising is branding. And when you have your brand correct, like in my previous slide during the presentation, I had mentioned about how advertising is about bombarding the information again and again. Yes, it is needed. Out of sight is out of mind. We need that advertising, but branding is the foundation to it, because that will build in the trust factor. It will generate loyalty, and it will build on the commitment also, both ways, from the consumer towards your product, and you giving in an excellent quality product to the consumer. And this, with the help of branding, you will create the desired perception of you or your company in the market. And hence, I always feel if you do the branding correct, the foundation is correct, and you keep on delivering quality, the business will definitely roll out back and come back multifold.
That was well explained. That is well explained. What are the branding mistakes that one has to avoid?
Okay. Yes, that's another very good question. So, number one, I always say is, don't limit your brand name. When you're creating a brand name, make it timeless. Create a name that, if you were to add a few more verticals down 5 years later, or maybe 10 years later, the name will encompass that product or service also. And moreover, it's all about having a name that is easy to pronounce, phonetically easy, tongue twisters to be avoided, action names are good. And a very good thing is, if somehow you can get your brand name also conveying the service, so that the SEO also gets very well integrated together. So, for example, if Brand My Style, we have integrated the word brand, which talks about branding in it. Similarly, there are many examples, but I always say, get your name very well thought. And I really like Bloom. Bloom conveys the essence of the brand. So, well done on the name for Bloom, also, Fire. Coming to the next point you should avoid in branding is getting visual inconsistency. That should be completely avoided. When we call about visual inconsistency is the look and feel of the brand communication that is rolled out. Is the brand colors being followed? Is the typography the same? You have to also get the tone of voice consistent of the brand. Uh, if you look at an Instagram feed or you go on an Instagram profile of someone, does it convey a very natural feel of the brand? You look at the yellow of the M and you know it's McDonald's. In fact, color quotient has got 80% value in getting the brand reinforcement for brand projection. So it raises the brand recognition by 80%. So color, using the constant color regularly, it helps. But it just doesn't, again, it has to have a balance. So you can't go really in contrast or off colors, but this is one example. Even the imagery, it's called visual imagery. And in visual imagery, how you are conveying your, in today's times, it's all about the visuals primarily. People will read content once they are attracted to your visuals, the aesthetics, then they will read content. Once they read that content is substantial, they will further engage with you. But you have to hook them with the right visuals. I also believe in branding mistake is people try to follow others, but I say lead. And when I say that is, you have to think out of the box. You have a vision and a mission for your brand, and you cater to that niche when you specialize it, and you move on, be the trendsetter. And I feel there's a lot of copying happening. People copy, come up with your own, come up with your original idea. They say when you copy from 4-5 places, it becomes research. So, well, do that, but take inspiration and come up with your own, add your own ingredient to it and create something new out of it. And of course, one of the most important is if you fail to touch your client's heart or your audience's heart or your consumer's heart, the brand has failed. So if you can't limit branding just to the brand name or the logo or the packaging or the promotions or the ads. No, it's about a positive response from the customers. And the branding ultimately is successful when the customers or the consumers feel or associate a positive emotion with your product or service each time they think of you. And one of the most important I have noticed on social media is people having put a lot of irrelevant content. And it actually ruins the image. So having right relevant content, it is not, I feel some people bombard their social media handles every single day. I feel even if you do it twice or 3 times a week, that's fine. But do it consistently and keep it relevant to your brand so that your target audience does not get confused and you are always showcasing that niche. So I always say, what makes a brand distinct is its uniqueness. So sharpen that uniqueness, project it correctly, get the uniqueness out there through the right messaging, the visuals, and the consistency. I think that would be my 2 cents over there.
Quite some tips that you have given us, and thank you for appreciating Bloom and our brand name. To take this forward, what is the one thing that is a deal maker for a brand to survive?
In my opinion, for a brand to survive, I believe it is excellence. It is excellence in whatever you do, in excellence in all your interaction, excellence in all the touch points, and creating a wow every time your customer or potential customer or just an audience interacts with your brand. Create a wow with excellence. And excellence, why I'm saying excellence, because there is the flavor of authenticity. And how does excellence come? It's with your passion. It's with your innermost purpose. The why of why you're doing what you're doing is created and projected correctly, and you believe and taking action with that why. And people are innovating, people are ideating and implementing. Now, when you are doing all these three things, fuse it with a lot of excellence in it. If even if there is a failure, I would say embrace it, look at it how we can get better at it. And it's a great feedback mechanism. One of the most 5 P's I would talk about, the first three is keep practicing, practicing, practicing. That's the most important till you get your interaction or the excellence or your work correct. And patience and positivity, because yes, branding does take time. uh, Staying positive definitely helps. And I would also like to add this statement is, when clients come to me, they expect me to create a fabulous brand projection for them. Yes, we will do the makeover. We will get it as close as what who you are in person as a personality or what your brand stands for. However, the car which we are creating, we can turn that into a Ferrari, but the engine is you. That engine has to be real solid. And if that engine and that Ferrari marry, they will fly. So that's what I would talk about as a deal breaker and excellence.
Oh, that's well put. To
Thank
wow
you.
customers with your excellence, and then the 5 P's that you talked about, and you being the engine that will drive it.
Correct.
The pandemic has disrupted the way business is done.
Yes.
What have you done in the last 1 year to improve your capabilities as a brand specialist?
So with the pandemic coming in, we quickly changed our strategies. Though we specialized in CEO branding, that is a luxury product. And in CEO branding, it's a very time consuming process. So what we do is we introduced one pagers, because we saw a lot of people were either being laid off, they're starting something new, they're having some new startups coming up. And we started creating one pager websites. Now, when one pager websites, um, it's just the basic stuff there, but how we project it, what stuff all we put over there, how we, in a very simple one page website, what is communicated, that itself was a big thing for the clients, because it really stood out. All our one pages that we created during the lockdown, in fact we were working all through and through the lockdown. Diwali was the first week, we the team got a off, I got a breather. We were working throughout the lockdown. So we just changed our strategies. We made it more affordable. We kept the principles same, and we continued with it.
Yeah, nice. You pivoted during the crisis. That's nice to hear that one pager that you created, which is making waves. What role do you think technology will play in the near future and say 5 to 10 years down the line as far as branding is concerned?
I see a lot of potential for VR coming in, virtual reality. And VR has so much of potential, whereby with virtual reality, you in the coming times, you will also be able to do a tour to Europe and experience it in a being virtually there. I foresee the next level for websites is going into the space of virtual reality, and where the experience, now it's all about UX design, it's all about navigation, getting SEO friendly. Coming in the coming times, it will be about VR also.
No, that's for the future.
Yes.
How is it that you create an ability to articulate a vision and then enroll your clients into that vision that you've created for them?
This is a tough one. We do every time. And I think when we are doing the brand discovery session, we are totally tuned into it. And we communicate this, the findings of the brand discovery, the brand brief very well within the team. I am personally involved. And of course, the team works very diligently as per the principles we follow. Now, since I have been specializing in CEOs and branding of personalities, I'd like to add over there that the essence is actually the person themselves. And when we listen very closely to them, their views, their ideas, their mission, their what they stand for, and as a person, I really love listening stories. And as a person, I really like to tell stories. So I get intuitively involved with the client story. It's literally like I become a character with them for that time being. I roll in that, and I think like that character, and we are able to. We work from heart. We have one thing very clear: the moment our energy is clean, the universe will send us creative ideas. Ideas come from the universe, so we have to implement it. Yes.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
And taking that forward, how is it that you handle conflicts when you have a difference of opinion with a client? And did Payal give you trouble while creating a brand for Blue?
She is one of the most ideal clients, and I would like to attract all clients like Payal. Well, I have one more client over here who's attending, and that's Dr. Vivek Mendonza. He is the director, very senior person, director, the key person in Lawrence and Mayo. And he's also one of my clients. Thank you, Dr. Mendonza, for attending this session. And I think I would like to even attract clients like Dr. Mendonza. So the reason I say because they gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted to do. And they trusted me a lot. And when you give that freedom and the trust to somebody, actually it's the most important thing is they will take more responsibility of giving you the best. It's actually a brilliant strategy. You are capitalizing on the expertise of someone else and giving them the freedom. How do I handle conflict? Coming to your question is I always will put my point forward. I feel it is my duty to say my point forward. You've come to me for an expertise. I will tell you what is needed to be done. Still, you feel you want to go your way, we will do it. But it's my duty to point it out, and I will share that. I will always share that.
That's fair. That's quite fair.
Yes.
Would you want to share any emergency situation that you faced, and how is it that you tackled, and how is it that you came out of that situation?
An emergency situation in branding in my workplace, it's all pre-planned. There's no such thing as last minute thing. However, there was in the early days of Brand My Style, one of my clients had a trade fair in which they had a stall. We had done the entire branding for them, and the local person in Baroda last minute backed out to do the standee design. And he came to me last minute, and within 24 hours, we gave him the design ready because we had already done the branding. We knew the foundation, and 24 hours, we gave him the entire design. The next very day, late evening, he had put up the standee. And it was not like it was just any design. It went parallel with his brand projection. He received a wow. He received appreciation from a lot of people saying, they asked him who's done your the stall design and all of that. So yeah, we managed that too.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. How is it that you react to competition in the industry?
Competition. I think it's all collaboration.
But they will be, it's a business.
Come on, there's so much of abundance everywhere. I work with branding consultants on projects together. When I have a huge corporate assignment, I will work together. I believe in taking in working together with an expert help. And the sole reason is to give the best to the client. And competition does not matter. If you have your work with the framework of excellence done, you don't have to worry about competition.
That's nice to hear, that collaboration word that you put in, because in this dog eat dog world, everyone is there looking only after their self-interest. So love the way you put it.
There is enough for everybody.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
And let this continue.
Yes.
Suppose you were targeting a customer from an alien culture. What is it that you would do differently?
Intuitively, nothing different.
Okay.
Technically, yes, a few things would be different. Intuitively, the reason being because human beings are the same at the core across the world. All have emotions, all of them have got a story to say, and I believe you just have to touch to the core and communicate, create an emotional connect, which is universal. Technically, because if you are addressing an audience in the US, the keywords are different over there. The language is different. The tone of voice is different. You have to take care of all that. In India, if you're doing your audience is somewhere in the rural, you have to go into multilingual.
Yes.
So technically, yes, but the essence and the soul of the brand will always remain the same.
Okay, thank you. How is it that you measure success?
It's a very subjective term. And success is, I measure it by happiness. For me, it is the journey of a process. It is about the moments, memories. It is about the ease of working. Success is about how you're able to also, for me, I believe, is how you're able to contribute to somebody else and make that person's life a little more easier. Where you have used your potential and unleashed that, and you've also served your own purpose. So that's what I would define success as.
Okay. My last question to you before we throw up the session to the participants. Explain yourself in one line.
I think from a work point of view, if I had to explain myself in one line, that would be, I am a Aladdin ka chirag, a genie.
Okay.
And what my clients want, हम थोड़ा सा उसको तर्शा के, थोड़ा सा magic करके genie उसको पूरा कर देगा. And we will create, the genie will bring out the essence of what your wish is. And I think I've been able to do that with my brands that we have created. So I would call myself a genie in one word also.
Thank you. You're a genie. Now I'll read out the comments that our participants have made before I throw it open to the general public.
Yes.
This is Dr. Vivek Mendonca saying, looking forward to your talk, Aarti.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. And again, Dr. Vivek J. Mendonca, here's wishing Aarti all the very best. I'm going to keep a notepad. And doctor, I believe your notepad will be full now. And there's Raina Tandon, best wishes to Payal, Bloom, and Premraj. Thank you, Raina. Namaste, dear Payal, says Bhavna. Thank you. And Raina Tandon says, nice to see you again, Aarti Narang.
Thank you.
Best wishes from Bhavna. Thank you, Bhavna. And Dr. Vivek Mendonca says, branding is a perception. Very true. Then Payal Irani says, branding is about an image. Dr. Vivek says branding is product over service plus image. Very true. Arvind Bandivedekar says branding works purely on perception. Dr. Vivek found the video very interesting. And Dr. Jagannath says, I joined the session a few minutes late of the 5 P's, practice, patience, and positivity. Please fill me in with the other 2 P's. Mind answering that?
It's practice, practice, practice with positivity and patience.
Okay. And Bhavna says, very insightful questions. Premraj drawing the best out of Aarti. Thank you, Bhavna. Nice of you. Payal says, Aarti, you work from your heart and soul. Bloom is blessed. Yes, I agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Payal.
Raina says she's the best in giving, the best in the warmest way. That's Raina. Dr. Jagannath says, well said, there is abundance. And then Bhavna says, haha, Premraj, alien culture. Yes, the world is a small place. And then Dr. Jagannath is kicked about Aarti Narang being the genie. A.S. Patil says, really, our session is progressing very nicely. Aarti elaborately explained advertising, marketing, and branding. Thank you. Nice of you, A.S. Patil. Jagdish Shinoy says, what are the key ingredients for branding professionals vis-a-vis a service or a product? Want to take that? I'll repeat that.
Yes.
This is from Jagdish Shinoy. What are the key ingredients for branding professionals vis-a-vis a service or product?
Okay, very good question. And the essence is common, I would say, about uniqueness. However, in branding of professionals compared to a branding of a service, let me take what is a branding of a service or a product. In a product or a service, there is a tangible substance the person can buy or experience. You have a service that you're using your telecom phones. Let's say the Geo is a tangible service you're using because of which you're able to get something. Now, if it comes to a personality, how it's in a personality, what is the benefit they will get? It is through the communication of the stories. You use your past success to attract more bigger success. And also how the key ingredients would be in a personal branding or in branding of personalities, it's the usage of social proofing. Very carefully, you are using social proofing. Now, what is social proofing? Instead of me saying my work is good, if Payal says my work is good, that's far more impactful. And usage of testimonials, of course. And again, the one of the most key ingredient is excellence, which comes to both. So I would say more or less it comes to the same ingredients. When we create a brand, we are following the basics. However, especially with startups, one of the key ingredients that comes as a differentiator is using the startups, the co-founders' stories to build on. After 3-4 years, when the service or the product gets established, then the brand communication can change a bit. But initially, you use the personal stories, the credible stories, and you put it forward in a very beautiful, non-threatening way.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Before I proceed further, I'd like to say Aarti has consented to give us a masterclass on branding, which will be about 2 hours plus. The dates and the link about that will be put up on the chat by Payal very shortly. Taking this forward, she's already put it up. That's quite fast, Payal. And then Dr. Jagannath Rao says branding equally applies to teaching, teachers, to every profession in general. Yes, doctor. Now, Bhavna says, let me elaborate. When a company spreads their brand thin, the result is many times a weaker brand image. Yes, Bhavna, we agree to that.
Premraj, I have a question.
Yeah, please, Abhijit.
Yeah. So generally, brands use a lot of. Hi, Aarti. My question is: generally, brands use a lot of slogans or taglines, and there is a rat race to have as unique, because people believe branding is all about uniqueness when they forget that it's also about simplicity. And as simple your tagline or slogan is, the more it can be remembered and recalled, and that's what all visibility will be all about. So how do you balance the uniqueness part versus keeping it as simple as possible? Especially Nike, it's just do it. It's as simple. Whereas somebody would use all sorts of fancy names for something, story showing, shaping, curating. I've heard all adjectives added to that. So branding makes people just consider branding to be deft use of the words and language while making slogans or taglines. So what's your view, and how would you define a good slogan or a tagline, or what would you suggest?
Thank you
So
for your question,
Bloom is,
Abhijit.
so to just add Bloom, we made it as simple, Bloom with Bloom. So anything in connection even with that?
So the tagline, firstly, thank you, Abhijit. This is a fabulous question. And I have seen clients, I have seen people struggling with taglines. That's when we come in the picture and we educate. So in 5 or less words, how would you convey your business? Your elevator pitch in 5 or less words. And the more simpler you keep, the more better for people to recognize it, understand your business, what you do. You don't have to explain your business all over again. And somehow it conveys your story, your brand's essence in it. So with a tagline like just do it, an example that you gave, it says just do it, and it lives. Nike brand lives to that potential of the value that they stand for. You look at their ads, they talk about the spirit of winning, and they say just do it, because that's that one line that you have to just go and win, just go and do it. So they stand by the value. So there are many different routes through which you can decode what the tagline for you would be. And but in short, the simpler the tagline, the better. And how does it communicate your brand's values or your brand's uh, uh, maybe the product or service? I think it's more about brand values you should stick to, and how you communicate that brand value.
So it's all about communication and simplicity, then with deft use of words. So words won't matter much.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
thanks.
Correct.
Dr. Vivek wants to know, is branding expensive? How can it be used frugally?
Okay. So again, I would not see, either you learn it yourself, use a little bit of logic, or you outsource it. Now, there are different ways. I don't see it as an expensive proposition, because the value that you get out of it is tenfold. The return on investment, remember that grid box I showed initially: advertising, branding, PR, and marketing. And if in branding, your consumer comes to you and tells you that I understand your work is good, I want to hire you. And the customer comes and tells you that because of your brand projection, obviously, you have actually got a tenfold better result than you putting money further in advertising. Yes, that all that is needed, but the conversions get faster. So it definitely has a high ROI. You break that ROI, it's not expensive at all.
Dr. Vivek, you have some great observations. Can I request you to please unmute yourself and ask these questions or make those observations? We would like to hear you.
So, thank you, Mr. Premraj.
Yeah,
So
nice of you, Doctor.
my question is that companies of late, in the last 2.5 to 3 years, are getting away from taglines. I've given the example of IBM. I've given the example of Tata. Tata is from salt to software in so many businesses, right? As few of their businesses have a tagline, but now they've just spent a lot of time and effort about 8 years ago on making one sort of blue color logo and utilizing that logo. So there are two schools of thought. I wanted Aarti's opinion on it. Whether we in our company we have 6 verticals of business, and they are so different from each other that to have one tagline may become difficult.
Yes. So having brand extensions to that is a good idea. Like PepsiCo, for example, will have different brands under it. Okay. Apple uses different brands: iPad, iPhone, iWatch. They have different brand extensions. And when you create brand extensions, it takes some shades from the mother brand, and it also brings in a new shade to the service it is providing. So having brand extensions is definitely a need of the hour. I think Bhavna also had asked this question earlier. And when you try to get too many products and services under one brand, you're confusing the target audience. So creating distinctive brand extensions and taking that brand forward would certainly help.
Well said, Aarti. Because I have been in our optical business say for 24 years, and last 5 years in our instruments business. That's why we created a distinct brand for our instruments and equipment business engineering products called Links. So we write Links, Lawrence and Mio. But what was happening is to a core optical customer, if they say Lawrence and Mio is into drones or Lawrence and Mio is into weather monitoring equipment, they could not see any synergy between spectacles and drones or spectacles and weather monitoring equipment. So creating another brand. But my question is been partly left out, Aarti. I'm going to provoke you to ask it. I'm talking about taglines under sub brands. So can you answer that very specifically? Taglines under. So you said iPod, iPhone, iWatch. So can an iWatch have a separate tagline from its mother brand? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mendranza. Yes, certainly. That brand itself becomes a bigger brand in the coming times. So you can have a tagline specific to your brand. Just as you treat your parent brand with the entire brand architecture, similarly, over the period of time, your brand extension will become bigger. And also you can treat that brand extension with a similar brand architecture, getting in taglines, getting in a color shade. You can even go a little bit ahead by adding new shades that still go complementary with the mother brand. So that still can be done.
I hope that has been answered, Dr. Vivek.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Bhavna, would you please mind unmuting yourself and ask your question?
Hey, hi, Premraj, and hello, Aarti.
Hi,
it
Bhavna.
was wonderful, very, very insightful. Actually, she answered my question. She did see the chat, I believe. I was talking about that many a times when you have multiple brands, is it firstly a good idea? Because otherwise it's really, weakening the entire strategy. So in Aarti's opinion, how do you avoid multi-product brand issues?
First, you understand who the target audience it is supporting. Is the target audience same? Is the target audience going to be from a completely different genre? So having the identification on a target audience is very, very important. The number 2 I would look at is what is the benefit the product or services is providing to the audience? What does the purpose of the brand complete with? So there are many I would say there's a thorough brand discovery session to be done, the background to be understood. A very superficial generic answer can't be given. It has to be taken case to case basis.
Thank you so much, Aarti. That was it did point me to think in the right direction. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all we had. So let's find out. Yeah, sorry.
Premraj, just one last question. So
please.
So when Aarti spoke on values, and say strengths. So one may have more than one strength, or one may have more than one value. So is it advisable, or what's your view on whether we project our most potent strength or most dominating strength we get, or the key value, or we project 2 or 3 at the same time?
Good question, Abhijit. You can definitely project 3 values or 6 values also. 3 values we generally decode. We have a system of decoding values scientifically. We take out the first where we also take the top 6, and we also take top 3. And the top 3 gives us the entire framework to project that person with those values. Top 3 I would recommend, because it's a combination that makes the brand personality shine in that way. It just can't be one.
Okay.
In my experience, it's always been 3, definitely 3.
Okay. Fine, thanks. Thank you.
But your specialization, try to keep that to 1 or 2 max.
Okay. So as they say, Jack of some, king of few, and emperor of just 3. 1, 2, not more than 3.
You can have more than 3. It's the power of triads. People remember 3 better.
Yeah.
You give them 4, they'll be overwhelmed. Give them 2, they feel, oh, zyada nahi hai, thoda hai. Give them 3, it's balanced.
Sure.
Don't think there are any more questions, so let's wind up.
Ma'am, how to brand a startup? Sir, excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, yeah, Ranjit?
How to brand a startup? This was my
How
question.
to brand your startup?
Yeah.
So, it's a very long answer. Come for the masterclass, which Payal will be sending you the link with. Do contact Payal and come for the masterclass. It's a very long question, but if I have to leave some thought lingering in your mind, it would be for the startup, what is why you are doing that startup? Why are you doing that business? Get that message out very clear, which communicates an impact in a positive way to the world through your product. Think on that and get clarity on that as much as you can, because that is the core of their brand. So that would be a starting point, I would say.
And this masterclass that Aarti will be conducting is on the 28th of January 2021 at 6:30 p.m. The link is put up on the chat. Please register and join us.
And I would like to really thank Premraj for being an amazing host, Payal for inviting me. And I wish Bloom really blooms with more speakers like this. And it was really great interacting with some amazing questions from the audience. Thank you, everybody, for being there, listening on being there. And it's almost 1 hour and you're still with me. So really admire that. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Aarti.
My pleasure.
You're a wonderful soul.
Thank you.
You have now ingrained in us the importance of branding, be it at the corporate or at an individual level. We are richer by this experience. Looking forward to your detailed masterclass on this subject later in the month. Thank you. Thank you very much. And goodbye for the present.
Thank you, Aarti. Thank you, audience, for being here right through.